place between those kind of vessels and smaller vessels that are able to then sort of dock at a small harbor or on a beach?
If we can, for example, stay with the cocaine bricks that we're dealing with in terms of the Eriton thing. So what they do is they manufacture or come up with a floating device, and this floating device is then packed with this bricks. It would not be the 700 kilograms, for example. It would be a smaller consignment of 20 odd kilograms that is then placed onto this floating device, and this floating device is literally just by corrupt seamen on that vessel just thrown overboard, and they sometimes even go as far as have a transponder on this floating device that the smaller vessel's crew can pick up on, and then trace this floating device and then uplift it from the sea itself.
Thank you. Okay, so, and we are vulnerable to this because we're a coastal country.
Yes, ma'am.
Paragraph 33.
A further challenge concerns legislation relating to narcotics exhibits. At present, narcotics exhibits must generally be retained until finalization of the criminal proceedings, and that process can take years. Sorry?
Are you expanding on that paragraph or are you moving on? Can you just explain that paragraph as well? You say that the exhibits must be retained until finalization.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And the process can take years.
Yes.
So it's a
the
long
process
time
of finalizing the court case.
Of the court case. So
yes.
it's a long period of time to hold on to the narcotics is the challenge that you talking about.
Yes, Commissioners, and obviously the availability of storage is a challenge in that regard.
And are all of these narcotics stored at the Forensic Sciences Laboratory?
All of them are stored, but not plants. And if I mean plants, the cat plant and cannabis plants are not stored at forensics. But the powder and tablet form narcotics are indeed being stored at forensics, Commissioners.
So if the challenge is the legislation, that's what you're pointing out to be the problem. It's that the legislation requires that they be retained. What would be your solution to the problem?
Solution contains in the next paragraph.
Good to you.
And just before the solution, what you've just said, Colonel, is at odds with evidence that we heard last week. Last week, I will not remember who the specific officer was, but amongst the officers, someone was pushing for the urgent destruction or disposal of what was believed to be cocaine. I say what was believed because no testing had been done by FSL at that stage. And I'm wondering if, in my mind, when you say that the drugs should be kept until the court process has been finalized, I'm wondering how it is and what basis these officers would have been pushing for destruction or disposal.
One can only, in my experience, Commissioner, one can only destruct and destroy these narcotics after the court case. Reason being, throughout the court case, the defense can ask for to actually see these exhibits.
And maybe test them for themselves as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, that's...
So is it that it's as a matter of law or instruction, protocol, such exhibits may not be destroyed until the case ends?
I'm not sure if it's law. I speak under correction, Commissioner, but it is an instruction, because at the end of the day, if those exhibits are asked for by the defense and we are not able to produce them, that might definitely harm our case in court, Commissioner.
Yes. So an officer who asks the laboratory, whether and procedure and whether these can be destroyed before the trial had run, knowingly speaks against the instruction? I mean, if there is an instruction. that
In my
says
opinion,
you
yes,
take-
Commissioner.
Thank you.
I'm just thinking, nobody had been arrested in the matter I'm referring to, but it was only about 5 months. Where you do not arrest any suspects, what are the prescripts? When do you give up and when do you then destroy? What's the timeline?
I don't think there's a specific timeline, Commissioner. That will depend on the progress within the investigation. If you've done all your due diligence in terms of your investigation and you can really not arrest anyone on that specific case in terms of ownership, if you would, for this narcotics, then an officer can make a destruction order, and the destruction order is then forwarded to FSL for execution of the destruction.
So that's probably what makes the difference between what you say to be the prescript on keeping
Yes.
and for how long and what happened here. Thank you very much, Colonel.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So the situation at present is that the instructions are that it must be retained, right?
If there's a running court case, yes.
Okay. And, okay, so you can continue with what you've picked up in your study of other jurisdictions at paragraph 34.
Thank you, Commissioners. In several foreign jurisdictions, to inter alia include most EU countries, the USA, South America, Australasia, there is legislation that permit the retention of representative and samples for evidence purposes and also for the analysis of these exhibits. And then the rest of the consignment is then destroyed. So a smaller number of the exhibits is then kept, which would make the storage thereof much easier. And I would love to see such legislation in South Africa.
Thank you. The next section,
Before you do that, Colonel, you haven't listed as a challenge the detection part of drugs, whether clandestine laboratories or these ones that come in from outside. Is it because you satisfied that there is sufficient capacity and ability, both the tools and the human capability within the police, and there's no identifiable areas for improvements?
Commissioner, to answer you on that, we have successes, but I will never be satisfied with where we currently stand. I can, for example, we now recently, my unit, with the assistance of crime intelligence, have picked up information of quite a large cannabis farm. And the issue with this drug laboratories is it is run on a very clandestine, in a very clandestine form and fashion. This farm is, for example, on the, sorry for my in the Bundus, and it's not picked up very easily. And yeah, I would agree with you that it is also a challenge, the detection of these drug laboratories. For the most part, crystal meth laboratories one can run out of your garage at your house. And yeah, we've picked up some of those as well. So yeah, the detection, you're quite right, Commissioner, that would also be a challenge, the proper detection of this. And if you say that I'm satisfied, am I satisfied? I'll never be satisfied until we root all of this out, Commissioner. So it is indeed a challenge. You're quite right, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I think Colonel, and this is why the next section becomes important because, and it's related to Commissioner Baloy's question, because part of the detection is linked to the investigations, right? And so it's not just about investigative capacity. It's about whether the investigators actually become complicit and part of the crime itself, which I understand to be one of the challenge, in fact, that is why we are here today to talk about this case. Am I correct to describe it in that way?
Unfortunately, that's indeed correct, Commissioners.
So this next section on the rip-on, rip-off method, which the commissioners have also heard a little bit about from I think, Major General Flynn, is a method that was used in the case that we're going to be dealing with, the Eriton case.
That's correct, Commissioner.
And is it correct that that method works only if there is infiltration by law enforcement?
Unfortunately so.
Can you describe now, from paragraph 36, that method?
Excuse me. It is our understanding that narcotics are frequently concealed in so-called legitimate cargo consignments. This concealment takes place in the country of origin where these containers are packed. That is where the so-called rip-on part of this modus operandi comes to the fore, where drugs are concealed. The Eriton case, for example, it was a container containing body parts for Scania trucks. Scania doesn't have a manufacturing plant in South Africa, but an assembly plant in South Africa. And because of the issue that these containers move a lot at sea, there's a space left between the door of the container and the body parts itself. And that cavity is a meter, just over a meter wide. And then we are of the opinion and of the belief, based on what we have picked up and also discussed with colleagues, as I indicated earlier, from other foreign law enforcement agencies, is that when that container then is moved from the owner or the person that rents this container towards the port where the container is shipped from, in that process or in that route, that container is diverted, and it happens very quickly. That's why the rip part of the rip-on happens there, is mentioned there. Then what happens is that this drug consignment is then placed in that cavity. Duplicate seals are then manufactured, and the container is sealed again, because the seal number of a container must correspond with the shipping manifest of that specific container. That container is then placed on a vessel, and in this Eriton case, the vessel left from the port of Santos in Brazil, where the Scania manufacturing plant is in Brazil. So it was transported from this plant to the port of Santos, and from the port of Santos, it came to South Africa, being Durban in KZN. Then, as was indicated, this drug syndicates then have to employ some other person within law enforcement, be that the police, be that customs, SARS, or the like, so that they can try and stop this container from going its normal route, to allow them to do the rip-off, where another set of seals is then again used to seal the container again as soon as they rip off this consignment of drugs, and then the container goes on its merry way to the end user of the legitimate cargo within the container.
Could you provide an example of how that would happen at the level of customs and SARS enforcement? I mean, how is it that customs officials would be able to take control undetected? If you're able to just provide an example for us to understand.
Commissioners, what happens is that when these containers land in our ports and a customs or police officer has information or believes that there's something illicit in this container, they put a hold or stop on this container. This container is then moved to a bond yard where a subsequent inspection takes place of the content of this container. Documentation is then completed. Say, for example, they find nothing, the documentation is completed, and it's sealed with police seals again, documentation with the new seal numbers, also added then to the shipping manifest, and then it goes away. In the case of the illicit side and the criminal element, within the law enforcement environment, they would remove, at the bond yard, they would remove by ripping off this drug consignment, they would remove it, and they would seal it again to say, but we found nothing. And they then would distribute it to the drug syndicates for further distribution.
Advocate Hassan, can I just ask a general question? Good morning, Colonel Steyn.
Morning, Commissioner.
What happens when containers get to a port of destination in South Africa? Are they all searched, or do you do a random sampling, or do you only search those where you have received, let's say, a tip-off that there might be something illicit in that container? What happens, what's the procedure when, say, containers from Brazil, 50 of them, from Mexico, 50 of them, land at a port in Durban?
Good Commissioner, the Port of Durban, and as I indicated, we have a number of ports. The Port of Durban, on an average day, that time when we had a look at it, deal with, I think, about 4,000 to 4,500 containers a day. So it would make it a task that is not humanly possible to literally check every container. I know that years ago, there used to be scanning devices, for lack of a better explanation. It was huge X-ray machines that can scan these containers. But I'm not sure. I don't think those are in operation any longer.
So we don't search all the containers. We only search those where you have information that there might be something in it.
Indeed, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. So that concludes, I think, your section then up to paragraph 40. And the important point there that you make at the end is the involvement of corrupt officials that make it possible for the drugs to then enter the market.
Yeah, Commissioners, in my humble opinion, I do not think these syndicates would be able to deal with the rip-on, rip-off method if corrupt officials are not involved.
Your next section deals with the Scania consignment investigation, and this is not Eriton. So we had last week, we had Port Shepstone, which also took place in July 2021, June 2021, pardon me, 22nd of June 2021. Yeah. Then we have the Eriton case, which we're going to come to, which took place on 9 July 2021. But in this section, you talk about yet another drug seizure, which took place at the end of July 2021.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Can you just address that before we move on to Eriton? Thank you.
During the course of our the Boesens case, which took place in Eriton. Eriton is part of the Boesens Police Precinct. During that investigation, we constantly had contact with the risk management people of Scania. And then to the latter part of July, it was the last week of July, if my memory serves me well, I got a call from at that time, the risk manager of Scania, and he indicated to me that there was a container that came in to the harbor. So what happens if a container comes in, the transport company uplifts it from the harbor, it's then taken to their depot. From their depot, transport arrangements is then made throughout the country where this specific container needs to go to. And at that depot, this risk manager indicated to me that there was a lot of police interest in this specific container. Because the container, I think it's got a 17-digit unique number, every container in the world. I think it's 17 digits, I'm speaking under correction, but it's got a unique identification number. And this specific container, there was a lot of law enforcement interest around this container. And he then requested, because of the issue of the 9th of July, he then requested that can the DPCI not get involved in this, to come to this, this yard of the transporter to actually deal with the matter so that there's no other law enforcement involvement into this container. Can I continue with?
Why DPCI and not other law enforcement? What was the concern?
I think, my opinion is that Scania was happy with the way that we dealt with the Boysens, the Eriton case. And there was sort of a trust built between the Scania risk management people and the DPCI. So hence the call from their side and assistance requested specifically from the DPCI.
And that was 1 ton of cocaine in that shipment?
Yes, if I can just, would you like me to just continue with that?
If that's
thank you.
easier, sure.
Thank you, Advocate. What happened then was that, as I mentioned earlier, I worked through Brigadier Naika, our national coordinator. And in that way, I connected, because I was up here, and because the threat, if I can call it that, threat in inverted commas, was imminent down in KZN, I had to make contact with my colleagues in KZN who was actually on, or very close to the scene at that stage. So through Brigadier Naika, I got hold of the SANEP coordinators that side and the SANEP team that side, and I linked them and the risk managers of the Scania people, I linked them together, I linked them up with one another. As things would happen, Brigadier Naika was also on an unrelated matter, also down in KZN, and he promised that he would go to the scene himself. And it was similar to the Scania one. It was also body parts, and in that cavity between the parts and the door of the container, they uncovered 999 kilograms of cocaine bricks. That was reported then to me later, and yes, so it's indeed correct. It's basically a ton that they did uncover there, commissioners.
And did these also originate in Brazil?
Same port, yeah. It
Same
was,
port.
yeah, they informed me it was also from the port of Santos in Brazil.
And what happened to that ton of cocaine and that investigation? Where is it at the moment?
I'm not sure what happened to the investigation per se, but that cocaine, through the intervention of Brigadier Naika, he's at our DPCI head office. Through his intervention, the cocaine was the very next morning brought up to Forensic Science Laboratory here in Pretoria. But I'm not sure where that investigation ended up and what was the outcome.
But the drugs are at the FSL?
That's correct,
Right.
Commissioners.
Is SANEP the only narcotics enforcement team across the whole of law enforcement?
Commissioner, no. There is, I cannot talk for other provinces, but Gauteng also has a provincial investigation unit. That provincial investigation unit is part of the, if I can call them, SAPS detectives, not DPCI detectives. And they also do indeed deal with narcotic cases, but usually the drug labs itself is the mandate of the DPCI. And usually when there's major drug busts, the DPCI will in some way, form or fashion also be involved in that investigation. But I think now recently you would have heard over the news that there was a big drug bust at the airport as well by customs and the like. And I think that the detectives that side was dealing with that specific case.
I think there is, just to explain why I asked the question, it is to see whether, is there a reason that you shouldn't have a SANEP kind of, where with every drug bust, that SANEP gets called to the scene? And I asked the question because of what happened with the Potchefstroom seizure, and then later Eriton, that you have all these, for example, with Eriton, you've got traffic officers, someone from traffic department who gets involved with that. And it would seem to me on the face of it that if there is a central point to call to the scene before anything is done, an institution such as, a team such as SANEP would be the appropriate body. So you have one central body. Do you have any comment about that?
Commissioner, that would be the ideal. Unfortunately, we don't live in an ideal world. That would be the ideal. But as I mentioned during the challenges, you know, the issue of manpower within the SANEP environment can be a challenge if that happens. Because, you know, you get your smaller drug bust at 10 grams here and at 20 grams there. Which will totally overload the SANEP personnel. So, but it would be ideal if one could have enough manpower for one central point. Yes, I would agree with you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And I suppose, Colonel, to the Commissioner's question, I can see how it would become overwhelming if it was for every single, but there could be a threshold at which it is appropriate for SANEP to be the coordinating body to respond very expeditiously to the scene, because of the size of the seizure and the consequences if that crime scene is not managed properly. So the alternative would be to have a threshold amount. I don't know what that would be, but would that be a possibility?
Commissioners, yes. At the end of the day, you know, when you talk about a big consignment, and specifically something like heroin or cocaine, that is not grown in South Africa, the plant itself is not grown in South Africa, it is a situation where these drug trafficking then happens across international borders. And as soon as that happens, it would be a DPCI matter, yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next section now is the Eriton scene. Can you begin at paragraph 46, and we'll just go through this a little more slowly now.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, what I'm stating in paragraph 46 is based on, firstly, the knowledge that I picked up during my participation in the initial investigation, my interaction with the investigating officer as he was working under my command at that stage. I also, as the team leader for that section or that team, did the docket inspection for the most part at the early stage. It was also based on reports that I read that inter alia included that of General Gerber and that of IPID. So I can explain what happened was that, and if the Commissioner can just bear with me, I cannot recall all these specific names, so I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly. But during the morning of, it actually started on the 8th of July, the night of the 8th of July, when this Gauteng traffic chief, Mr. Mashaba, made inquiries at the yard of the transport company. So again, when this container would arrive from, in this case, from KZN, and it arrives after office hours, if you would, of the recipient or the owner of the content of this, that container would be kept at the yard of the transport company and taken to their client the very next morning within office hours. So that container was there that evening, and what then happened was that this traffic official made inquiries about the container, and he was told that they cannot assist him because he didn't have a warrant, of search warrant. They cannot assist him, but he's more than welcome to be there the next morning when this container is moved to Scania, to then deal with Scania, because Scania was their client, and then make further arrangements with Scania. On the 9th of July in the morning, that container was then moved to the premises of Scania. The yard of the transporter was in Rudekop, which is in the east of Johannesburg, and Eriton is more just to the south of Johannesburg itself, and it was then moved there the morning, and then Mr. Mabasa claimed that he contacted certain police officers.
You mean
Mashaba.
Mr. Mashaba?
Sorry, Mashaba. My apologies, commissioners. He claimed that he contacted certain police officers to assist him.
Sorry, Colonel, let me just, before you move to 46.2, 46.1
Yes.
refers to Mr. Ngu, who contacted Mr. Mashaba. Now, who is he?
If my memory serves me well, he was an informant to Mr. Mashaba.
So he's a civilian,
Yes.
and he's an informant.
Yes.
And do you know, having been involved in the investigations, why he would contact the traffic chief instead of someone more senior in the SAPS or Hawks or SANEB?
Commissioners, I wouldn't have an answer why you would do that.
Okay, so he gets contacted, Mr. Mashaba gets contacted by a civilian with information about drugs that are on the container. And then you say they then go to the site where the truck is with the container.
Correct.
And now you go to 46.2, and he says that he contacted Mr. Mashaba, other police officers to assist.
That's correct,
And
Commissioner.
when did he contact those police officers?
As far as I can recall, he contacted them on the morning of the 9th for assistance. Some of the people that he contacted apparently was not able to assist him, and then he waited at Yellow Jersey. Now, Yellow Jersey is the name of the transport company that transported the container from KZN to Gauteng and then to the end user being Scania. And I also stated here that there was an unsuccessful attempt to search the container. As I indicated, the people at Yellow Jersey indicated to him that he does not have a search warrant, so he must rather deal with the end user being Scania.
So Yellow Jersey is the transport logistics company.
Correct,
And
Commissioners.
the truck was initially at their premises in Rudekop, you said?
Correct, Commissioners.
Okay. And he says he contacted an officer, Pokungwana, for assistance. Do you know that member?
I do not know that member, Commissioners.
Do you know what, which component, which section he works in, or what his responsibilities are?
Not the DPCI, but I cannot recall I recall that the one member was part of he was sort of in an administrative post at a police station in the Vaal. That is the one I can remember. The other member was a member of the national, there was a national investigation team at that stage running, and he was part of that investigation team. That is what I can recall. I cannot recall who was where, but I remember those two entities that these people worked at.
Okay, so I just want to be a bit more specific about these people. So it's, he first contacted Officer Pokungwana. He couldn't assist, and he referred Mr. Mashaba to Officer Mkhane. That's right?
Yes. That's what I picked up out of the reports, yes.
And you say he was initially, Mr. Mkhane was initially unable to assist.
That's what I picked up from the reports. I was not privileged to that conversation that the two of them had.
Okay. But he then did join Mr. Mashaba.
As far as I remember, yes.
And where he joined Mr. Mashaba was at the Yellow Jersey premises.
I would not know where exactly he joined them, but according to what I can recall, he joined them at the Scania premises in Eriton.
Okay, so 46.3, it was, maybe if you read 46.3 and 46.4.
Okay, yeah.
You can read it into the record.
Mr. Magana initially was unable to assist, but later joined Mr. Mashaba and Mr. Nku at Yellow Jersey, where the truck was stopped.
46.4.
Following an unsuccessful attempt to search the container at Yellow Jersey, it was agreed between the shipping company and the officers at the truck, the truck transporting the container, proceed under police escort to Scania, being the final destination of the shipment.
Okay, so the unsuccessful attempt here is what you were describing earlier, was that the Yellow Jersey officials said that it needs to, they prevented them from, because there was no search warrant, prevented them and said, you can deal with it when you get to the end destination, which is Scania.
That's indeed correct, Commissioners.
So, and it says proceeded under police escort to Scania. Who was the police escort?
As far as my knowledge goes, except for Mr. Mashaba and company, there was no police escort per se. It was security personnel from Yellow Jersey that escorted the truck, because the personnel at Yellow Jersey was uncomfortable with this whole line of inquiry. I think, if my memory serves me well, that was the reason why they sent a security officer in a separate vehicle with the truck to Scania. So
what would have been the appropriate response at that point in time? You've got a traffic chief and you've got a police officer. What would have been the appropriate protocol for them to follow at that point, at Yellow Jersey?
At Yellow Jersey. I would have placed the seize on the truck, and I would have obtained a search warrant, and I would have searched the truck at Yellow Jersey.
So this thing of saying, well, we'll just follow the truck to the next destination is clearly just...
If you have solid evidence, why would you allow them to do that? There's a lot of things that can happen en route from Yellow Jersey to Scania. And if the consignment was that big, I would have stopped the truck from leaving and wait for the courts to be available, give my evidence in writing to the courts, and then apply for a search warrant for that specific truck at the premises of Yellow Jersey.
Instead, what they did was they allowed... apologies.
Also, you are able to do a search and seizure even without a warrant if you have a tangible basis for doing so, and if you fear that waiting for a warrant might defeat the purpose of the search and seizure.
Absolutely right, Commissioner. Absolutely right. But at the end of the day, one would sorry, can I continue, Commissioner? What one would like to do is to, if you have the opportunity to then get people there, secure the truck, go and rather apply for a warrant. It's a safer route to take, and we prefer to take the safer route rather than to take the route as explained by your good self, Commissioner.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question, Colonel. Do the traffic police have authority to search and seize containers for drugs? Isn't there a unit that is responsible for that the chief should call to attend to the matter, while he waits at the scene, obviously, to make sure that the scene does not move or the drugs are not taken out of the container? But as a matter of principle, I had always understood that traffic police deal with traffic on the road. When it comes to containers being at, in this case, it would be the yard of Yellow Jersey, which is the company that is transporting the container from the port to its place of destination. Do traffic police have authority to just call a random policeman and a random security guard to come and help them search the container?
No, Commissioner, that is not standard operating procedure, no. So I will agree with you to say that if I was in his shoes, I would definitely have called, a lot of people. I would have started with the local police station and then escalate the thing, as I indicated on one of the previous questions, at least to the Provincial Investigation Unit dealing with narcotics. And if I see the size of the consignment after searching, I would definitely involve the DPCI on that matter, Commissioner.
Because it raises suspicion that traffic police are themselves doing this.
Indeed, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Colonel, we've had evidence that traffic officers or people in the traffic law enforcement space, their functions include crime prevention. And so with that, the answer that you give, that they don't have authority, if they happen upon a drug consignment, it seems to me we may have to distinguish between what is prudent to do and what they are precluded as a matter of law or for lack of authority from doing. Maybe if we could just clarify that, because we've had quite extensive evidence, which was a subject of debate, but the point of it, or the essence of it being, they are not just about traffic law enforcement, but if a crime happens, then they have a duty to, or they have the power to deal with that. What do you say to that?
Commissioner, yes, but I think the same goes for a normal member of the public. If a crime happens in their presence, they can act on it, but they still need to involve the police. If my memory serves me well, a traffic officer also is just allowed to operate in the area that is designated for. In this instance, I would have definitely standard operating procedure would have caused him to actually call especially when he's a senior person, to call the right people to the scene. I mean, even private security companies is also not mandated per se, but their main operation is to assist with crime prevention, but they don't do that on their own. They do that in collaboration with the South African Police Service.
Okay. And then a related question. The traffic chief or chief of traffic, such as Mr. Mashaba was or is, are people in that position, and maybe traffic officers in general, but I want to limit it to someone who holds that kind of position, chief of traffic. Do they have the training how to handle a drug situation such as this, where they have information? Ordinarily, the SAPS or the DPCI would do a drug seizure, drug bust. Is someone in that position trained? Does their training include dealing with drug enforcement, such as seizures?
Commissioner, I cannot elaborate on the specific training that this chief has undergone. But generally speaking, I'm of the opinion that I don't think so. But again, it's my opinion. I cannot elaborate on the specific training that or the history in law enforcement that this specific officer has undergone. But again, if I'm unsure about anything I do, example, I mentioned earlier that I oversee illicit mining, for example. And I'm no specialist on illicit mining. So I would approach someone that's a specialist on illicit mining to say, listen, I have this situation, or I believe that I've got information on such a situation. Can you please come and assist? So I cannot elaborate on his training, but I can just say what I would have done in his shoes, Commissioner.
Yes, I guess what I'm trying to get out of you is whether across the different areas of law enforcement, including traffic, is it general training? Is there general training about handling drug scenes, for example? Is that training that is given across, or there are specialized teams or units that get training about it?
To answer your question, I believe not. Why I'm saying this is that on 2 occasions now, I myself have, on request of personnel from the MEC of Safety and Security Gauteng's office, I have been requested to give sort of in-service training. The first time it was 3 days, the second time it was 2 days, to give in-service training to the traffic officers and even to the traffic wardens. And I know this is also a point of contention in Gauteng, but to give training to them, a very basic training, because that type of training takes years. Because you have to build up specific experience and the like, but to give them sort of just a sense on what to do. And one of the things I definitely mentioned there is, if you come across a drug lab, for example, or if you come across a large consignment of narcotics, what you believe is narcotics, because you cannot look at narcotics or at powder and say this is definitely narcotics. One of the things I definitely mentioned to them there is that, guys, you need to contact the correct people. Here's the people that you need to talk to, and here's how you deal with it. Rather safeguard the crime scene and get the people with the proper training in.
Lastly, and maybe there's a way in which it fits with what you say, lastly, there is no, does it mean therefore that there is no protocol which guides a member on the spot who either comes upon information or comes upon drugs, who they should call next, how they should process that? You earlier on spoke about one of the people that Mr. Mashaba called to the scene is an administrator, if I heard you properly, was someone in an administrative capacity at a police station in the Val, I think you said. We've had cases where someone has called their friend because they say, well, I know that friend is always available, friend in the police still, but say, I know they're always easily available, so they will accompany me to a scene. I think here we also have instances of someone who has called a brother to come to the scene. So does that mean there are no protocols that would guide a police officer, whether traffic or any other person, that when you happen upon this, your next line that you call for reinforcement or for support or assistance in any way is your immediate commander, for example, or it has to be somebody within the jurisdiction or someone within your police station? There's nothing like that.
Commissioner, no, but at the end of the day, a senior person like Mr. Mashaba, do I pronounce it correctly? Yeah, in my humble opinion, ought to have known that at the end of the day, you cannot call someone that does analysis, crime stats analysis at a police station to come and assist him with major drug information. So there's nothing in writing per se, but if you know that you're going to sit with a major crime scene, you have to follow crime scene management protocols. And then if I have that type of information, I'd love to have someone with me that can actually deal with the correct protocols in terms of crime scene management. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Commissioner. So what happens here, in fact, is none of that happens. Instead, the civilian employee of yellow jersey is able to issue an instruction and say, we're going.
Yeah.
Come or don't come, but we are going. That's actually what happened.
Yes, Commissioner.
And so then they arrive at Eriton, which is where the Scania warehouse is. Okay, so 46.5, can you read that paragraph, please, into the record?
Upon arrival at Scania, the two officers, Mashaba and Manganye, allegedly opened the container and later claimed the bags containing narcotics fell from within the container, necessitating the bags to be loaded onto Officer Manganye's vehicle. It's an unmarked black van. It was a Nissan Bakkie.
Okay, let's just pause here. You say later claimed that bags containing narcotics fell from the container. Were there other witnesses? The bags did actually fall off the container. You were able to establish later.
Yeah, they, as far as my memory serves me, Commissioners, the personnel at Scania was instructed by Officer Mashaba to open the back of the container when these bags fell out. And as I said earlier, you cannot, by looking at a bag, say this bag contains narcotics.
Let's have a look at those bags. How many bags were there that fell out?
Yeah, I must lie to you, but it's 20-odd bags.
Okay. So this is a photograph at page 4 of the exhibit bundle. Are these the bags that fell off the container?
That is indeed correct. I didn't see the bags fell off the container. These bags were on this black bakkie when I arrived at the scene, but these were the bags that I was told fell out of the container.
Do you know the source of this photograph?
The source of this photograph, when I was informed that I'm going to be in front of the commission, I asked around some of my old team members if anyone still had photographs of the crime scene, because I had a problem with my phone. It was destroyed. It fell off the car's roof on the highway. So it was destroyed. So I didn't have photographs anymore. So one of my members, Warrant Officer Morris, actually forwarded the photographs that I submitted to the commission's team. And this was one of the photographs. These are indeed the bags that was at the back of the black bakkie.
These are not actual bags, are they?
No, Commissioners, these are not actual bags. It's sort of black rubbish bags as we know them, combined with a very broad type sticky tape that these bags are manufactured with. It's not normal bags. Even the handles of these bags are made with that sticky tape and the black bags.
If we turn to the next photograph, page 5, can you tell us what we are looking at here?
What you're looking at here is the content of those black bags. That would typically be what was later established to be a brick of cocaine.
So what it looks like, if you can just confirm for me, is that, because this looks like a canvas bag with a zip, is that inside the plastic rubbish bags, basically.
That would be correct, Commissioners. I think why they do this, I also asked the question, why they do this is, remember there's a lot of moisture when these bags are at sea. And it's sort of to protect that canvas bag with the wrapping. In the right-hand corner from my side, one can clearly see the black tape that was used to cover those bags.
So inside the black canvas bag is this brick that's also wrapped in plastic.
That's correct, yes.
And that brick has got a picture on it.
Yes.
And
does.
what is that?
I think there's a picture of the two types of brick pictures that we got. That is a Red Bull. I think the other photograph, if you would, is maybe I think the next photograph shows
So the next, so page 6 is just another example of the bricks.
yes,
And this is a particular insignia.
a particular insignia. That is a Red Bull.
And what is the significance of this picture?
The significance of this we picked up is that, excuse me, the end users, being the drug syndicate, specific syndicates have specific insignia that they request is put on to their product that is exported into our country for them. The other photograph, on one of the other photographs, you will see there's a black seagull on a white
Yeah.
background.
I just want
So it's
just
for
wanna-
specific parts of the syndicate.
Right. Have you
That-
seen this particular insignia before, the Red Bull?
Variations on the bull, but not the specific one.
What type of variations?
You would get it's also a Red Bull, but it's more like, a refined picture of only head of a Red Bull, or a Red Bull standing in the air, or, more than that one, or a more defined picture of a Red Bull and the like. So it's not it can mean that it was for different sections within the syndicate, or even a different syndicate that
Okay.
comes in on the same consignment.
So, thank you. The next picture. Okay, so that's just another picture of, I'm assuming that these are the bricks that came out of that bag.
Correct, yes.
So that would be 11 bricks. Oh, no, because they're stacked. There's more than 11, because they're stacked.
It looks like 31,
Okay.
because they look like three stacks high and two, yeah, looks like 31.
31 bricks.
Yes,
So the canvas carry bag carries about 31 bricks each.
that seems to be at that stage, yes.
Okay. All right, so the next photograph on page 8. Right, this is what you were referring to earlier. Can you tell us what we're looking at?
What we're looking at is, again, some of the Red Bull bricks, as well as a brick with insignia of a black seagull, looks like a seagull, on a white background.
Have you seen this insignia before?
No, I haven't seen this specific insignia before, no.
Okay. And then if we turn to page 9. What are we looking at here?
What we're looking at here is all the bags now unpacked. We counted the bricks, and then the bricks were then sealed in official exhibit bags. And it is those exhibit bags containing the bricks that you're seeing in that picture.
Okay, so those are now all the bricks in the exhibit bags. And this is at Eriton still, right? That location where this picture was taken, where exactly is that?
At the Scania premises in Eriton, that's correct, Commissioners.
Thank you.
At which point did you determine that this was cocaine? Because you have done no analysis and no testing. All you are seeing is bricks in these bags.
We did not at that stage determine it was cocaine per se, but out of previous experience, Commissioner, we believed that this was bricks of cocaine weighing more or less a kilogram, né? And I put in my statement, although it would be determined by a forensics analysis. But out of experience, there's nothing else that they pack in this form.
So the eye test told you that this must be cocaine.
Yeah, it's not like I remember when other witnesses, you asked if you do the, the tongue test, that only happens in movies.
Okay, so we're going to come back to the crime scene and how this was handled. But for now, I just want to follow your statement. These are the bricks we know now. These are the bags that fell out of the container. Let's just go back in time now. So they arrive, they open the container, the bags fall out of the container. Can you just go to 46.6?
Yeah. Two officers were then joined by another officer, Pakula.
Okay. And you met Officer Pakula when you arrived on the scene later?
Warrant Officer Pakula was pointed out to me by then Captain Sebola, now Lieutenant Colonel Sebola, who was the investigating officer and at that stage crime scene manager, as one of the people that he was intending to arrest.
Okay. So did he arrive, do you recall at what point he arrived?
He was already there when I arrived at the scene. So I'm not sure when
That was much
he arrived.
later, yes. Okay, so at this point, we've already established what should have happened at earlier points along this train of events. Now you open a container and these bags fall out. There's good reason to suspect it's drugs.
Absolutely.
What should have happened at that point
Well,
in terms
actually-
of crime scene protocol?
Actually, Commissioners, before that point, and I think General Flynn also testified to that, what should have happened is that the seals and the sealed containers should have been photographed first and foremost. Then when it's opened and these things fall out, everyone move back and let's photograph what happened here now. And each step of the way should have been photographed.
So the commissioners have been taken through a little bit through the crime scene protocols and national instructions last week, but from my understanding, please confirm or correct me, that is important. The first thing one does on this comes from the protocol on seizure of illicit drugs. The first thing you do is you secure the scene.
Absolutely.
Was it secured here?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, let's just go back to 46.7 as we deal with this crime scene. Can you read paragraph 46.7 into the record?
During the time the officers were busy
Can I-
with this, sorry?
Before you do that,
Sorry,
sorry, I should
Commissioner.
have asked this question before you started. What is the purpose of photographing the container while it's still sealed? Can you just explain why you do that?
Very plain and simple to show that if there's going to be a court case, to show that that seal is still intact. And to the best of whoever's knowledge, crime scene manager knowledge, that there was no tampering with that seal up to that point, to try and establish that, yeah.
Up to the point when the police now become involved with it.
Indeed, correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Hassan.
I think at this point, let's take the adjournment and resume at 11:25.
Thank you, Chair.
Let's adjourn.